A2.3 viruses. The main ideas are the virus structures, the lytic cycle, the lysogenic cycle, differences and similarities between the cycles, and the origin of viruses. So there's three main virus structure, really two, that the IB wants you to know. This bacteriophage lambda structure. You have to make sure to remember that this is the capsid, the tail sheath with the neck. They're all pretty logic-based named, but they might not be the words you use, so you should remember these. This is HIV and coronavirus. They're pretty similar. It's just HIV has two identical RNA strands, and corona has one, and HIV has reverse transcriptase. This one's the more simple structure. You just have to remember the capsid, the envelope, the glycoprotein spikes, and yeah. So the lytic cycle. So this is using bacteriophage as an example, but it's actually less common. So there's the attachment phase, where it just attaches to the outside of the host. The penetration, where it uses its pins to penetrate into the host and inject its DNA. Then it will, biosynthesis, it uses, when the injected DNA replicates more bacteriophages inside of the cell, and the bacteriophages proteins are made inside of the cell. And then maturation is just all the proteins combine and they make a bunch of bacteriophages. And then it lyses, is why it's called the lytic cycle, because the host cell gets destroyed as the bacteriophages escape. This is the lysogenic cycle. This can come before the lytic cycle. So similarly, it starts the same. Phage attaches and injects DNA. And this is a bacterium, by the way. And then the phage DNA circularizes and enters a lysogenic cycle. Phage DNA integrates within the bacterial chromosome by recombination and becomes a prophage. Then it just reproduces normally, but it has the phage's DNA inside of it. So at any moment it can activate. So this is sort of like the dormant stage. Then it may enter a lytic cycle, which then it will rapidly reproduce. As you can see here, it will split off and enter a lytic cycle. But now it's in many different bacteriums, so it can be much more devastating and much more sudden. So they may sound the same, but they're quite different. Lytic cycles are typically used by bacteriophages and some human viruses, like influenza. The lysogenic cycle are by much more dormant viruses, like HIV, herpes, and some bacteriophages. Lytic cycle is for rapid virus reproduction, and it destroys the host cell. Lysogenic cycle is for replicating dormantly without killing the host cell, so it can be much more devastating as over time. Lytic cycle is, this is just a function. It's viral and the host cell destroys, and the lysogenic remains dormant until it gets triggered, allowing a more long-term infection. Now, the origin of viruses. Viruses originated before cells this is based on the simplicity of the viruses compared to cells, because they're much more simple. Ancestors of these modern viruses provided the materials necessary for development of the first cells. So this is actually saying that cells came from viruses. Regressive hypothesis. Viruses were originally small cells that become parasites of larger cells. Over time, they shed the structures that were no longer needed through gene reduction. It's, as the name suggests, it's regressive. An escape hypothesis. Portions of DNA or RNA genetic material escaped from larger organisms such as bacteria and became surrounded by an outer boundary. So you just have to remember these as they'll probably come up on MCQs. So here's an example question. Hershey and Chase proved that DNA is genetic material. They worked on, so this is sort of combining viruses and another unit. So you should know this from that other unit. It's bacteriophages. When the viral genome gets inserted into the bacterial host, it is termed as so we know it's not replication, we know it's not capsid formation. It's lysogenic or lytic cycle. And it's a lysogenic cycle. As the lytic cycle would be more, both cycles you insert the bacterial host into the DNA into the bacterial host, but the lysogenic cycle more focuses on that, and the lytic cycle more focuses on the rapid reproduction. And that's it for today.